All right, guys, let's go ahead and grab a seat. Grab a seat, grab a snack, grab a pen. There's like a dozen of them out there if you need one. All right, all right. I know it's like pulling candy from a baby, but
it's like pulling candy.
Teeth from a baby, candy from a baby.
Pulling teeth from a baby?
So, whatever. It's been a long day. So cool. And if you have to adjust anyway, I know it's kind of a little. The hard part is I will be All right, you guys, we're going to get started here. This is a talk that I've given in a lot of one-on-one conversations. But when it comes to these one-on-one conversations, I wanted to give this because I started this meetup back in 2018. Anyone there back in those 2018 meetings? A few? Okay. It's been a quick minute. Like my very first meeting, I invited my darn mother because I was like, I don't know if anyone else is going to come, but I know I got a mom on the seat. We had like 15, 20 people at that first meeting. I was like, all right, we're doing this. So, but I started in 2018. You can see we've got 40 plus people in this room, whatever. Over the years, we've had probably, 2,000 people come through. New people, whatever that may be, from all over, maybe more than that, I don't know. But the reality is I've gotten to observe a lot. Just being the one who facilitates it. So I see a lot of people who come in wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited about investing in real estate. And then I find a lot of people who, they're doing their thing, but they're just not, they're getting frustrated. They're not getting the traction they want to get, the momentum they want to get. And a little bit in between. You get people who stick around and stick through it. You get people who quit. I'm just like, oh man, they were right, they were right there. So tonight's talk, I want to talk to you about the 7 steps to invest in real estate. And this is not some let me give you just numbers because that's how I'm going to format the talk. No, it really, my goal is that you can walk away with an actionable, action steps here to get you started in real estate, okay? Whether you're looking to do your first deal or your next, I think that these are some important things to consider. So I want to set you up with that. By the way, I'm working on getting some other people to do the announcement so it's not the Courtney show. That's not my goal here. I also find that a lot of people, when they got started, they were very not focused, all over the place. I mean, heck, I know. I'm going to share some stories about when I got started. So I want to start with, the first step. You need to set the course on how you need real estate to serve you, okay? The reason why this is really important is when I first got started, my very first deal was a live-in flip, a house hack. I bought a property at a deep discount. I fixed it up, moved into it, continued to fix it up so that I could solve, where I was living. But I also wanted to not just go throw my money away on rent. I wanted to make it an investment as well. And so I bought something, right, as a live-in flip. So then, on my second deal, I said, great, now that I'm doing a flip, I can go do a rental, right? Because apparently somewhere in my head, I was like, oh, I just have to go check off the boxes, I guess. I don't know. I went out and bought a property in Slidell, found it off of Craigslist, okay, $20,000 for 2 properties. A little house and a trailer. The trailer, 1980s, broken, no subfloor, all this stuff. The house was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath house, all of 700 square feet. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I do that while I'm renovating that property, getting it ready to be a rental. The neighbors start telling me that the Department of Transportation was going to expand the bridge and they were going to buy out the properties on this road. So I got very scared that my tenants would not want to live in this long term. So I was like, well, the other problem was during that, when I bought that property, that 1-bedroom house and the trailer that I eventually tore down, I had also just quit my job 2 weeks before. I was all in on this real estate thing. And so, when I quit my job, what went with it? Income. My income. Because I was all in on real estate, and then all of a sudden I was I didn't prepare for was that $100 a month isn't going to cut it for anything. And so, but I was all ambition, no plan, right? All zeal, no education. I mean, some. So while I was renovating that property, I would listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast, right? Started with episode 1, started working my way through. And I realized that all my money was tied up in this property. That if I really was going to, I left my job. If I really was going to do this to support myself, I can't keep this property forever. So I eventually changed my decision, and I said, instead of this being a rental, it's going to be a flip. Well, I'm already 3 months into it, so my numbers weren't right. I believe I lost $1,600 on that deal. $1,600 is not devastating to many people, and thankfully it wasn't to me then, but I learned really quickly that I needed to figure out what I was doing and where I was going. So that was a little house in Slidell. Every now and then I drive by it just to remind myself to get it together, because I didn't, So it was during that time I said, okay, I'm changing this from a rental to a flip. I would go in and I'd listen to podcasts. I did about 60% of the work, the rest 40% I hired out. So I was there a lot, painting and doing whatever, if that's painting. So I realized really quickly while I was learning that I needed to bring in income, right? That's what I needed then. I needed food on the table, money today. So while I was listening to the podcast, I started learning about wholesaling, okay? At that time, I had a mentor. And this mentor was a local buyer who was frequently buying and had, in my mind, loads of, a lot of money in their pocket. So I kept saying, hey, is there anything I can do to help you? She was like, well, if you send me a deal, I'll give you a finder's fee. And I was like, what are we talking about here, right? Oh, $500, $1,000. I'm like, okay. But then I'm listening to podcasts and I'm hearing about wholesaling where you can make $5,000, $10,000. I'm like, okay. My third deal ended up being a wholesale deal. Made $7,500 on a property in Slidell. That was 3 or 4 blocks from my house. And so I started learning, okay, I can do this, right? But here's the thing is, I then switched my strategy to, I'm going to flip and wholesale as I can because I need money today. I need income today. But then I started getting good at that. And then I got addicted to that, right? Because it's really easy, it was easy to enjoy that big check or the check when it would happen. It wasn't always big. So then I realized, this is not always, this is good for today, right? The money started coming in consistently. This is good, but the whole reason I got into real estate was to build wealth. Well, by flipping and wholesaling everything, I started regretting selling some of those properties. Anyone ever regretted selling a property before? Or was it just me? Okay. So I regretted selling, and to the point that I got mad about, specifically, I have about 5 in my mind that at any time I can talk about, that I was mad because I had found such a great deal, but I just didn't have access to the money to buy them, and therefore I missed out on owning that really great rental, right? Yeah, I made $15,000 on a wholesale fee, but oh my goodness, I could have bought a 9-year-old house in a great subdivision for $92,000 that rents for, $1,500 a month. Yeah, it might have needed 20 in work, but I'm like, still haunts me. So, but what was I doing? I was doing what I needed that day, right? Which was food on the table, money today. It's going to take a lot of rentals with that cash flow to put food on the table, that income stuff, right? So when you think about real estate, a lot of people are like, hey, I want to get into multifamily, I want to get into renting, or I want to get into wholesaling. You got to get really clear on what you need, but you got to prioritize what do you need the most right now. Because I wanted to build wealth, but yes, that day eventually came, but up front what I needed was, I needed that income. So get really clear on how you need real estate to serve you right now. And a big part to that is understanding what today is. So you're generally going to have real estate's going to serve you 1 of 3 ways. Today money, so that's that income. That's flipping, wholesaling, real estate commissions, okay? These are some general things. The second thing is tomorrow money. Maybe you're like, no, I have a full-time job. I'm good on the income part, but you know what? I need tomorrow money, that retirement money. So that, you can do that through rentals, lending. So like we're selling on, creative financing. So when you sell on time, you're getting more of a mailbox money versus a, cash flow from rentals. Various things like that. Stuff that's kind of built out over time. They're smaller chunks generally. But when you start getting a few of those, it racks up. And the last one is a hybrid of the two. Because I needed money today, and real estate pays me my salary, my money today, but real estate also has built my tomorrow money. But it's really hard in the beginning to juggle both, so I got really good at the income part, and then I started adding in the tomorrow money. Does that make sense, y'all? But keep in mind what your overall plan is. So many people, like I did, I just was all ambition, all excitement on, just getting out there on those real estate streets and doing something. But I realized I didn't really have a plan. And so, although it was, good-natured, I bought that deal. I could have made money if I would have gone at it the right way. I would completely redo that $20,000 property I bought in Slidell off of Craigslist, in hindsight. So, let me say this. A lot of people say, hey, should I start off wholesaling? Should I start off, flipping until I start getting the money to have a rental? Let's take the real estate business. Let's take real estate out of it. Let's just talk business. Let's put in the restaurant business in place. Name a favorite restaurant, someone.
Commanders.
Zia's. Commanders, damn.
You said name a restaurant.
Fancy. Okay, Zia's. So Zia's got a brick and mortar store. Maybe someone, when they're getting started, they want to have a restaurant. They're like, hey, maybe in their head, they're like, I can't wait to have a big restaurant like that. Well, should they go starting a food truck? Or should they go start the catering business? Or the meal prep business? Or or like, hey, let's make a fast food version of that. Or let's, something along those lines. Those are all different business plans. But do you think that those will all take completely different trainings and skill sets to do those? What if day one you were starting, you go and you open up Zia's brick and mortar, and then that same day you're like, we're starting our very first restaurant, but we're doing it in 3 locations. Day one. No, I would have secondhand stress, and also I'm like counting down the total, collapse of this plan, right? Same thing. Hey, day one we're starting, but we also have, this is our very first restaurant, our very first location, but we've got the food truck outside, we've got the catering, we've got you see what I'm saying? Like, you put in any other business plan, and all of a sudden you're like, but how many people do that in real estate? They get started like, I wholesale, I flip, I have rentals, Airbnbs. They're kind of all, those are all different skill sets, all different trainings, all different strategies, and all different businesses that would require different things. Just because it's real estate doesn't mean it's all the same. Does that kind of make sense? So getting clear on what you want and how you want real estate to serve you, so that you can start building out the course. Okay? So that's number 1. Another thing I want to say about this is you've got to decide what success looks like for you. And if I'm honest, this changes over time. This is something you build over time. Here's the thing is, I'm currently asking, I got into the industry in 2014. I am still trying to decide what is enough. Where is the stopping point? What does success look like for me? Because the reality is, okay, you guys have 85 properties. Is the goal to have 100? Is the goal to have, or is it a monthly net? Like, you got to decide, because here's the thing: is it the monthly, cash flow amount, or is it, hey, at a certain age I'm just going to stop, or something like that, right? Because here's the thing is, the difference between having 10 properties and 100 is of two very different strategies. They're going to require a lot of different things from you. The money side, the management side, all of this. And to be honest, most of my mentors, they're like, they're in their 70s, 25 paid off properties when you're retired. I mean, that can go a long way. Now, I know a lot of people chasing, I want 1,000 doors. I'm like, you also want a heart attack at 35. No, not really, but you know what I mean? Like the stress, right? Some people may say, I don't even want that. I just want 3 good rentals, Courtney. So you've got to decide what success looks like for you. Because I'm really convinced that there's something called like the real estate Joneses. People go on, online and they see people doing X, Y, Z, and they're just trying to chase that. But it's not really meant to, like, that's not really going to serve them well, right? Not everyone's going to have their name on the side of a Cessna or whatever's bigger than us. And that's the only plane I know, I'm sorry. But like,
that's small.
That's small, okay. Whatever, Boeing something. Call it whatever you want. I don't know the technical. Obviously, I don't have one. Just kidding, there's 3 outside. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Not everyone's going to have that. Not everyone needs to have 1,000 doors or 100 properties or 10 properties. But if you don't know what you need, you are going to be zigging and zagging. Same thing with, think back to the restaurant. Hey, do you want to have 10, like a franchise company that has, 10 locations across the U.S.? Or do you just want to have one mom and pop shop here that does really well? Those are 2 very different plans. And I feel that most people don't answer this, and therefore, what do? They don't get the momentum. They're like a deer in headlights. They get frustrated because, one day they're like, hey, I'm flipping today. And I see them 6 weeks later, hey, I'm doing, Airbnb. Like, hey, you still flipping? No. Or whatever, right? So you've got to figure out what it is and stay the course. So let's talk about the next step. So that first one is you've got to set the course of how you need real estate to serve you right now. The second one is what is a deal? This is building your buy box. The reason why this is important is in all that ambition, we chase everything. Oh, someone called me 2 hours away that wants to sell? Jump in the car. Or, oh, this deal is 3 states over? I think I can figure out how to do a deal. Right? So get clear on what your buy box is, whether that's a flip, a wholesale, a rental, an Airbnb, because what it will do is, by getting clearer on this, and you'll get clearer over time, who here who buys properties would not buy something they bought in the beginning? There's things that I bought in the beginning I wouldn't buy now, right? Mm-hmm. You learned your lesson? It's recording. I may or may not have properties. I have a friend who has properties that might have bullet holes inside of them that they no longer wish to own houses with bullet holes inside of them. That friend is, trying to clarify their buy box, right? So let me talk about that. Let's talk about location. This location can be everything from the state in which you do it in, the parish. I honestly just sold my property in Orleans Parish. I don't wish to own properties there. I may wholesale there. I don't know if I would flip there. Cities, neighborhoods, school districts. By getting clear on that, I have a friend who has a 1,800 unit development. It's a large mobile home subdivision that's the only area that he markets to. Now he has 1,800 of them, but could a neighborhood be 300 houses? Right? There is, and you guys know Tammany Hills in Covington? Yeah? The by Harrison Road, it's like the Dog Pound Road, it's like the A through K or L streets, and then it's like the 1 through 11th street. I've done easily maybe 2 dozen deals in that neighborhood. I know it like the back of my hand. I love that neighborhood. There's a handful of neighborhoods in, St. Tammany Parish and in Tangipahoa Parish that I want to do repeat business in those. Something comes up, I run there, right? Heck, I'm doing some deals right now that are in an area where I used to own, and I got alerted of them because they were, I was looking all up in that area, right? The next thing is your asset class. Do you want the high-end home that's in gated neighborhoods? Do you want waterfront, you know, the more waterfront, nice neighborhoods? Do you want the bars over the windows, bullet holes in the side of the house? Or somewhere in between, right? That's really important because those are very different models, right? You're going after very different clients. What about your asset type? This is everything from single family or small to large multifamily, trailers, mobile home parks, things like that. By getting clear on that, for example, you know, Sharon does a lot with trailers, Justin does a lot with land. Well, they may or may not tackle, like, say, a house or something, or they may say, I have a strategic relationship with someone. Let me say this. I met my friend Adam Johnson years ago because I was not buying in Mississippi, but I kept getting leads in Mississippi. So what did I do? I Googled, we buy houses in Mississippi. And then I just started calling. And he was the first one to call me back, and I built a relationship with him. Could I have gone chase them? Yes. But here's the thing is, I wanted to get like this, right? So those things matter. What about the condition of the property? You know, do you care if it's a major gutted rehab? Do you care if the foundation's cracked, if it's some major, you know, large rehab that's going to take you a significant amount of time? Or what about if it's a medium to light rehab, right? Some people just want paint and carpet. That gets very difficult to find something because, you know, HGTV has everyone else looking for paint and carpet right now. Because they're going to shiplap it and, you know, I don't know what they do on the floor these days, but something like that, right? You see what I'm saying? Because here's the thing is, by understanding what you're looking for, you learn to know what to say no to. How many of you guys would look for a burned property, like a fire damaged property? Some people would say yeah, right? But then you're like, no, that's way too much work for me. Look, I call myself ambitiously lazy. I work very hard to get to choose the type of work I want to do. So, let's talk about this, flood zones. We talked about that earlier. The day and age of flood zone X or flood zone C is over, right? So, you've got to say, hey, what am I willing to do with the flood zone? You know, is there maybe a cutoff on the yearly amount? Or what if this property flooded in the past? Am I okay with it? I have a property right now that the yearly flood is $3,500 a year. And a $135,000 house. But I bought it because I'm all in $40,000. And it rents for $1,075 a month. It made sense at that point. Usually I would not have bought because the flood was that high, especially on that low value of home. But when I bought it that low, it still cash flowed $400, $500 a month for me. So you've got to know your box, but also know when to be flexible some. Is this kind of helping you guys?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, what about this? What if there's just known issues with municipalities? What if you're trying to Airbnb? Would you be looking to go in the heart of New Orleans? Would you be looking to go somewhere that maybe is more friendly to that? Right? You've got to look at that because those things affect your deal. When you're looking at different states, what are the landlord-tenant laws? I don't know if I would ever own in New York or California. Like, honestly. I don't know. I just don't know if I ever would, right? So the whole point of this is don't chase every single thing, because if your time, the one thing you can't get back is your time. If you get very specific on what you're looking for, you can then put your efforts into, and you can actually get a return on your time and a return on your effort. A lot of people get frustrated because in real estate, they're not getting a return on their time because they're spending all their time chasing this, that, and the other, that they're not going in a collective direction, right? I use this example many times. People say, hey, I want to invest in real estate. That's like walking up to the airport and saying, I want to fly to Europe. The lady's going to chuckle and be like, and? Like, that bird won't fly. That won't book you a ticket. You need to pick Zurich. You need to pick Paris, something, right? So that's why getting very specific on what you're looking for will help you start to say, when someone says there's an opportunity, you can either say yes or no. Or tell me more about this, maybe. So one last thing when it comes to your buy box, based on your exit strategy, you've got to really learn your numbers. If I was auctioning off a property, I'm not, don't get too excited. If I was auctioning a property, 3 or 4 different people would have different offers, because maybe this one can get, construction prices cheaper. Maybe this person's Airbnb in it so they can get extra income. Maybe this person does their own management, so, whatever that looks like, right? Or this person's going to go swing the hammer themselves, or whatever. Or they're going to live in it, whatever that looks like. So understand, depending on your exit strategies, those numbers may vary. But ultimately, that's a big part of your strategy. So Stephen was talking earlier, he was looking for a bridge loan because he's working out his strategy. He likes to buy properties and then put good debt, long-term debt on them, right? So knowing that, he's got to build it into a situation where he can buy them right, where he can do, he can do that BRRRR situation. So those things matter. Any questions about your buy box? No? All right. Number 3, how will you find these deals? Everyone's asking this right now, okay? So there are 3 ways that I find deals. The first one is on market. It's kind of like a given, right? You could buy them, they're on the MLS, this like that. I have a number of deals under contract right now that are on the MLS. Not every deal that I buy. I would say a small portion of the deals I buy is that they're listed, on MLS. But that doesn't mean that there's not a deal on there. Okay? Anyone ever bought a deal on MLS that would buy it again? Yeah, absolutely. So that is an option, right? So with that, I'm going to say this is you've got to learn how to communicate your buy box to realtors. Don't just say, set me up on a automatic email. Or they may say, well, what are you looking for? I need to know what to set you, where you can get an automatic email for, right? Because you can't just say everything. That's not going to be fun. I have secondhand stress just thinking about an email for everything on MLS, right? You've got to get clear. What do you want? What are you looking for? The second is through wholesalers. If you're a wholesaler, raise your hand. All right. Guys, look around. If you're a buyer, hold your hands up, guys. If you're a buyer, look at these people, right? I would consider there's, about 20% of our deals we wholesale. Wholesalers are people who go and find opportunities, generally off market, and then they sell their position in those those contracts and those deals to other investors. So these are people who are putting in all the work to market and go find the unicorns in the world right now. Deals. Sellers who were willing to sell at a discount. So I will just about wreck my truck when I see a we buy, houses sign that I haven't seen before. Because, how many of you guys have I called you on your sign? That's about half of you guys. I know I have, right? And actually I called one the other day and they opened up, hey Courtney! I was like, wait, hold on. Who's this? Because they didn't say the name. And so I'm like listening to the voice real quick. I turned on the, so get added to people's cash buyers list. And what does that mean? Wholesalers generally, they collect the names of buyers in the area so that when they have a deal, they can alert those buyers of those deals. Now, I will say this, what I've learned is about 85% of the buyers list I join, I never get sent anything. If I'm being honest. The true cash buyers are laughing with me, right? But here's the reality is, I have bought from wholesalers. Okay? Time to go to bed.
That's how to wake up.
Yeah, right? So get added to their cash buyers list. So when I see those We Buy Houses signs, I don't be like, ew. I go, no, great. Let me call them and see if they have anything available right now. Or, hey, add me to your buyers list. Let me communicate my buy box to you, right? And then network. This is in person, but network online. The exchange meeting. The online on our Facebook group on Southeast, Louisiana Real Estate Investors Association. Go on that Facebook group. I know plenty of people who bought deals off that Facebook group. There's a few thousand people in it. People share their deals on them. And it might not be a wholesaler that's in this room or who's ever been in this room, but they found us on Facebook, right? All right, so that's through wholesalers. The third way is direct to seller. This right here is a skill set. depending, it doesn't have to be high volume, going direct to a seller and buying from them. It doesn't have to be this huge marketing campaign, but I will tell you this, to consistently buy from sellers, you have to do consistent marketing and follow up. If you're a wholesaler, say amen. Because that's exactly what it is. It's a marketing business, right? So, these are things like for sale by owners, using public records to contact people and say, hey, you don't have a sign outside saying you want, it's for sale, but are you interested in selling? Here's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be high volume. It is a skill set that I believe every investor needs to learn how to at least buy off market or buy direct to seller. It doesn't have to be in high volume, but it is necessary because your deal flow is critical to your success. Lastly, solve problems. The way that you justify the discounts, go solve some problems. So if you want more deals, go find more problems to solve. I'm not saying go stand outside the coroner's office, but find a way to go find those deals.
Chase the ambulances.
What'd you say?
It is a lead, though.
That is a lead. Might be cold. No, so, those exchange meetings. My goal with those exchange meetings are, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I don't get a ton of those, but when I do, so those exchange meetings, that's my goal, is to make it to where, how we were sharing about, situations in here. My goal is to take the haves, the wants, the deals, and the goal is just to make it an entire meeting of that, where it's more deals happening than just education. All right, so those are, how will you find these deals? You have got to answer this question, because otherwise you're going to be sitting and just twiddling your thumbs until the next deal comes, and that is not easy if it's, for example, your yearly income, that salary, right? Or if you're like, hey, I need to buy 10 houses this year for my retirement. Well, it's February, how you doing? You know what I mean? You've got to find ways to get in front of deals. So, maybe that means you've got to go door knock. Maybe that means you've got to go through the classifieds and call the old people who still use newspapers. If you haven't looked in a while, it's a good, every now and then one pulls out. I've bought 2 houses off of Facebook. I'm still waiting to buy one off of Instagram. I don't even use Snapchat, but maybe one day I can buy one off of there. I don't know. But I bought 2 of them off of Facebook. One of them was on Facebook Marketplace. The one that you bought from me was on Facebook Marketplace. I was like, oh, this one probably sold a long time ago. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, no, they just weren't marketing it right. And I was like, and then we did a deal together, right? The one inside out. And so I just happened to, I was like, I put myself out there. I went to direct to seller. It looked out. We did a deal. All right, so that's number 3. How will you find these deals? The 4th one, funding. This is when a lot of people say, oh, I can't invest in real estate right now. I don't have money, right? You remember how I said finding deals is a skill set? Funding, finding the money for your deals is also a skill set. So I got started, the flips, the wholesaling. So, the active income was coming in, that was paying me. But I started being like, hey, I was getting upset that I was selling some of these and not holding them and building that future wealth that I really had learned about with real estate, right? So I was like, I need to change this. Because otherwise I'm going to be selling a lot of really good deals. And I like y'all, but I don't like y'all that much for everything that is a great deal I send off, right? No, I'm just kidding. But I was starting to say, how can I do this? So I started off using a home equity line of credit against my house, that very first live-in flip. I had increased the value of it, so I had equity. That was just sitting there. So before I quit my job, I lined up that home equity line of credit. So that after I quit my job, I still had access to that line of credit. After that, other than that line of credit, I used that line of credit for my first 3 deals. I have not used it since, other than for some maybe, to fund maybe a quick purchase of something, and then I reimbursed it with other funds. Since then, the 2 main ways I have funded my deals has been through creative financing and everyday people funding it, either with cash they have in the bank. Some people have You can catch some people on a really bad day in the stock market. They be like, I'm pulling everything out of the stock market. And what properties do you have, Courtney? I wanna partner with you on some deals. I did not know how to get sellers to agree to sell to me on time. Or I didn't know how to get, structure a deal that I could take over people's mortgages. I had to go learn. So what did I do? I started specifically learning from people who did that. I started saying, hey, now that I learned this, now every deal that I do, I started making cash offers and creative offers, right? Let me talk about this. If you're only buying with cash, you are losing a significant amount of deals right now. If you're only making offers with cash, you are losing out on deals right now.
Lease options also is a part of it?
That's creative finance. That's a way. Bond for deeds, seller financing, buying subject to an existing mortgage. That house that I bought last money that I moved into, that was a sub-2 deal. It did not make sense cash-wise. But I would do that deal 10 times over. Twice on Sunday. Today, I was meeting in a conference room with a seller that I met 2 weeks ago who had a problem. This seller, I said, look, I was listening to their situation, and I said, look, I can either pay you this much in cash, or I can pay you this much if you're willing to work with me, and I can pay it to you over time. And I had said that because I kept listening, and I learned that the house was paid off. And so I said, well, look, I don't know if I come back here in a year from now and you got that cash I gave you and sit in the bank, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know you well enough, but that's just not good. We just joked about something like that, right? I was like, you've got to get this money working for you. Do you know a way to get this money working for you? Well, let me show you how you can do it through a property that you know very well. You know better than I do. So they said, well, let us think about it. Let us talk about it. And they called me up. They said, we want to talk more about that second option. And we met today at my title company in the conference room, and I outlined for an hour. We just talked about their situation, and I outlined ways that we could potentially do it over time, where I make them payments, or I partner with them and I go renovate it, and they get more of the spread than up front if I had to bring cash up front. We talked about a whole bunch of different options, but I didn't know how to do that up front, so I had to study it. I had to learn from people who were actively doing it. If you go to Courtney10k.com, the top right is the YouTube. It's not a custom YouTube link. Otherwise, I'd say go look at this on YouTube. But go look at those. There's easily 4 to 5 different videos of past meetings that are specifically on that creative financing on there. Go listen to them. So those are ways. Learning how to use private money. I didn't know how to talk to people or how to even find people who had money. Let me say this. Anyone ever heard of hard money before? Anyone ever used hard money? Mind sharing what they paid? No? Everyone's embarrassed? No. Hard money is generally between 10 and 15% interest and 1 to 5 points. So a point is, if it's $100,000 that you're borrowing, a point would be, 1% of that. So, 5 points would be $5,000 you'd have to bring to the table. Okay? So, that's hard money. Private money is generally, right now for me, is anywhere from 5 to 8% interest. How many of you guys would like to do a 5 to 8% loan to someone on a deal? Right? Yeah. But here's the thing is, people say, hey, can you tell me who your private lenders are? I'm like, I'd have to call them first, because these are people, it's a sweet old lady at church who saves her money, who's not a professional lender. We just created a relationship, and she feels confident enough to back me on some of my deals. But she doesn't have a business card. She ain't got no, LLC website thing. Her lucky she uses email, right? So here's the thing is, but those relationships have been created intentionally. There are people right now in your life who have a real problem with their money, because I literally was sitting in Iberia Bank the other day doing something, and I listened to this older gentleman walk in and say, can you tell me if those certificate of deposit rates have changed any this week? And you could just tell she was like, I'm sorry, Mr. Sam, or whatever his name was, it's still, this and that. And he left back because he's probably trying to live off of that, right? You could be you could have $1 million in the bank and be very broke. You couldn't even rent one of my rental houses right now. Maybe they want the bullet hole. I don't even know. That one went up too. I kid you not. I just raised the rent on that one. So these are skill sets. So you can use cash, lines of credit, private money lenders, the hard money lenders, cash partners, people who partner with you in the deal, but they fund it, but it's different than a lender. Conventional loans, different things like that. If you guys are looking, Ryan Camesso, I have never endorsed a hard money lender before. I've gotten to know Ryan Camesso. If you go on that first table over here, he's bringing me his cards next week. I have not used hard money or what I consider soft money, and I'll tell you about soft money in a second. Ryan is the only person that I've gotten the farthest with looking at 4 of my properties. And I'm like, I might use you just to be able to tell you guys, but some of my business partners have used them. Has anyone used Ryan? 2 of you guys have used Ryan. So Ryan offers hard money, but he offers what I call soft money, which is asset-based. They might look at your credit. They might look out if you maybe have some reserves, but they're not going to ask you for your tax returns or things along those lines. They're going to be looking at the asset. And so they'll lend to you a 30-year loan. Might be a little bit more in interest than you're used to paying conventionally, but they'll lend it to you in your LLC from day one. And so then you don't have a limit. So Ryan's stuff is on the website. If you go look on there, our preferred vendors are on our website. Or if you go to Courtney10k.com, the link is on there too. I have a lot of links. That's why I got the Courtney10k.com. So that's our preferred vendors. Ryan Camesso with First Equity Funding. They do asset-based lending. He is the only one I felt comfortable sharing with you guys. There's a lot of people who say I have private money, but it's not. It's like a fund that's lending. But a lot of people are using them with maybe their BRRRRs. You buy out, you refinance. Don't let this money part stop you. People say, find a deal, the money will come. I'm not saying that that's the best thing to do, but understand that this too is a skill set. Because up until I knew how to do creative deals, I didn't know how to do them. But then I started learning how to do them. Everyone's got to do their first deal on something, right? So that was a skill set. I started learning how to do it. So learn it, figure it out, fail your way forward, figure it out, move forward. Don't let this stop you. Back in 2017, when I left my job, I was on my second deal. I've done roughly 200 since-ish, and I've never used a bank loan. I don't even think I'm bankable right now. I don't know, I haven't tried. I don't like them enough to try. But I tried in the beginning, it's been a little while. So what I'm here to tell you is it's possible that you can do it without having to have all this money in the bank, or a credit score, a certain amount. Here's the thing is, if you can learn how to do certain skill sets, if you can learn how to have conversations with people who might have a retirement account or who might have some money that needs to go to work, it very much so, it's not I don't have any money, I can't invest in real estate. No, that's you standing in your own way. Number 5 is managing it. This is property management. Are you going to manage it yourself? Is someone else going to manage it for you? If your goal is to buy 100 properties, you sure as heck need to figure this part out. Because it is a whole nother game when you have a whole lot of, people who call you landlord, landlady, whatever you want to be called. What about project management? Hey, you like flipping, you want to do 10 flips this year. I don't know about you, but I learned very quickly that I hate flipping. I honestly, I still force feed it on myself. I'm in the middle of 2 6-figure rehabs right now. I don't know what possessed me. Here's the thing is, some of the most experienced investors I know, who've been in the game for 20, 30 years, when they were asked, what is the number 1 skill set you need to be successful in real estate? They all said management. Because here's the thing is, how many people have ever bought a property from a seller who was in distress? Yeah, handful of people. Here's the reality. They owned that property. If not, they couldn't sell it to you, right? They owned that property, but that owning it was not enough. I'm dead serious. I've had the unfortunate situation where I've had a dozen or so investors call me over the years because they jumped too early and bought a property and didn't, get educated or didn't get, an experienced investor to maybe bounce their deal off. And they called me when the bank came, knocked on the door, or when they were up at Creek, one way or the other. Or that one time I was at an auction and we had tried stopping this property in Beauchene in Mandeville. We tried stopping the auction by doing a short sale. The bank wouldn't work with us, so we go there. We knew this house inside and out. We go there, we're like, we literally can't pay a penny over $100,000 because it had like the worst crack slab I'd seen. You guys know Beauchene's like really known for those. This guy comes in, buys it for $212. And I hit Paul. I almost knocked the wind out. I said, go see what he knows that we don't know. Because it might be something, right? And then I can hear Paul going like, when he's talking to him, the guy looked like he was going to lose his lunch. Because he lived in Beauchene, and he said, we saw the pictures on Zillow, it looked like a good deal. I literally said, I was like, here's my card. Like, call me later. And so, that was last year, right? I have seen people do that time and time again. So with that being said, management. There are people who own real estate who have been hurt by real estate and have to sell real estate at a discount, who have lost money on a deal. A huge part to that is the management. Maybe they didn't manage the acquisitions right. They didn't buy it right. That's usually the case, like this guy. Maybe they didn't manage the situation with the tenant. The running joke is, I will help you get your first deal, even your second deal or your next deal with the REIA, or I'll help you stop doing deals by buying your properties. And I have bought numerous people's properties when they were ready to exit being a landlord, and it wasn't a good exit. So management is key. You right now in this market, if you don't manage your flip right, you might be in for a hurt. So that management part, it is a skill set. Owning it, don't make your biggest goal to own properties. Make your biggest goal to know how to manage them, okay? Number 6, building your team. Can you tell me what time it is?
8:18.
Okay, kind of know what's going on. Building your team. Real estate investing is a team sport. Too many people try doing this alone. My deal. No, can't, learn the address, whatever. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna figure this out all on my own. The power of, well, first of all, you have to understand that you can't do a single deal by yourself. There will be an insurance person involved, there will be a title company involved, there will be a lender involved, somebody involved. But when you get in that mindset of, if I tell anyone anything about, or talk with anyone about anything that I do in real estate investing, they're gonna just take, or they're gonna just, they're out to get me. Man, that sets you up for a really dark way to do business, and a really dark way to live in this world. When I started learning that I could collaborate, that the people in this room, that we could collaborate, they weren't my competition, they could be financial friends. What started happening was I started doing deals with people. There are multiple people in this room that I've done deals with, and there's multiple people in this room who have done deals with other people in this room. I know because I've heard about them. I've high-fived y'all. I've been excited about that, right? So, don't be an island. You need to build your team. Right now, how many people are struggling with their team? I know I need a team. I want to say something else, but a darn roofer, because, there is people who did consistent work for me who won't pick up my phone call right now, right? Anyone else experiencing this? People who are quitting the business, people who are too good for you because you don't have an insurance check, whatever. Don't ask me where it hurt because it's all in the construction phase, right? These are people like your lenders, your inspectors. I treat my lenders well. I want them to want to do business with me again and again. Someone sends me a deal. I don't want to bite their hand, right? I want them to say, that was a great deal with Courtney. I want to do it again, right? So we do have that preferred vendors list. That got birthed out of people coming and asking, hey, do you have any lenders you can recommend? Any title companies you can recommend? A CPA you can recommend? Whatever that looks like. So check into that. But you've got to find the right fit for you. Just because I recommend them doesn't mean it's necessarily the right fit for you. I mean, that's the hope, but at the same time, you aren't me. Some of you are stuck because of this. Some of you are stuck because you don't maybe know how to manage a flip, but maybe you have the funding and you know how to find deals. Or maybe you could do more if you partnered. I've partnered. There are two people who I met through this REIA that I liked them enough over years that I decided to start owning rental properties with them. That was not a light decision I made. That's like marriage. I was going to make some jokes there. But the reality is that's a big deal. To own properties that have debt tied to them with other people, right? That's a big deal. But I got to know some people. I got to know who they were. I got to know what type of character that they had. I would not own properties with everyone. But it came from getting to know people. And it's not just these meetings. It was going to have lunch. It was going to attend some conferences, things like that. This is where I find a lot of people get stuck because they're trying to do it 100% by themselves. If you go listen, a few months ago, we did the Art of a JV deal. JV meaning joint venture, where I brought on the two gentlemen that I own properties with on the panel, and we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly of partnerships. They both have done other partnerships. There's a lot that you need to look at. You need to make sure the paperwork is right. You need to make sure you have the same values as these people. Because hey, if something hits the fan, you want to make sure that person's gonna show up and not shut down, or that maybe when it comes to it, are they gonna cut a corner, or are they gonna be ethical, right? So number 7, it's what are your next steps? Your action plan. So this is where, out of all of these, somehow I untied my shoe walking. Out of all of this is where I think a lot of people struggle. Anyone ever bought a hoarder house? Yeah, I've had the pleasure. Take that sarcastically. There are literal hoarders in this room of information. And I'm not gonna make eye contact. But through this REIA, that's one of the biggest things I've seen over the years. People who just take information, but they never take action on it. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I started the exchange meeting. Implementing the cash flow game and other things, because I'm I want to go up and be like, real estate can change your life, and yes, you've learned about it, and you could spit it all back to me, but you've got to put it into action. Everyone ever heard of analysis paralysis? Right?
Yes.
It's very real. Very, very real. So let me say this. Implementation. Become someone who implements at the speed of instruction. So tonight, I gave you 7 steps. What does it mean to implement at the speed of instruction? Find one of these that you have the most need for improvement in, and go find a way to take action on it. Is it the first one? Do you find that you're all over the place and you need to go figure out the course you're trying to be on? Is it the team one? Do you really need to start really thinking through who's on your team? What area do you need the most help in, right? Where's the most bottleneck for you right now? Or maybe you say, I need to go learn more about creative financing, or I need to go learn more about management, right? Because maybe that's where I'm hurting right now. I've thought about this a lot, but I truly believe that the main difference between where I started and where I am today has been only 2 things. Maybe not only, but 2 things. Mindset Because when I got started, my mindset, I'm a different Courtney than when I started. So my mindset has changed over the years. I honestly had a goal to have 3 properties by 30. It's a lot more than that now. So I've got about 40 properties, and I'm 31. So I don't know, oops, I landed here, right? Well, here's the thing is my mindset changed along the way. Because I also thought my first deal was a flip and my second should be a rental when I had just quit my job, right? My mindset has improved along the way. The second thing is my skill sets. I talked about how I didn't know how to raise money from everyday individuals. Well, guess what I practiced at? Guess what I studied? Guess what I, failed at, but then got up and tried again. So what are some mindsets what is a mindset that you need to improve? One of my mentors, who will never know my name, is Jim Rohn. He said a formal education will make you a living. A degree will get you a job, make you a living. But self-development will make you a fortune. So a huge part here is everything that I've learned. I didn't go to college for real estate. I didn't go to college at all. Have I paid into education for real estate? I have. But I did my first 3 deals without doing so. I did my first 3 deals between 2014 and 2017 without paying a coach. That market was still doing this. So I know that we're doing this in our market right now, but it's doable, right? Yes, I have paid into, I've attended, seminars, I've paid for coaches, I've paid for courses, I've paid for books, maybe too many books. The reason here is I'm constantly trying to improve my mindset and my skill sets. So what's a mindset that's stopping you? The best thing you can do is at least identify it. Maybe it's the thought of, well, I can't get into real estate because I don't have money. Well, that's a mindset you need to address, and that's also a skill set you can work on, right? Maybe you're saying, I'm too busy right now. I might not be able to do any real estate this year. Okay, again, I know a lot of people with a lot less time doing a lot more than I know. I have a friend who works as an executive within Shell. Works a lot of hours. And in his first year and a half, he bought 170 properties. I know that's what I said too. I said, that's like a stress for you. But he did it, working like 60, 70 hours a week. But he figured it out, right? He worked hard, he worked smarter, not exactly harder. He knew his limitations, but he figured it out. So what is a skill set that you need? Maybe in 2022, maybe what you need is to up your skill sets. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't know why I keep buying properties, but, I keep losing money in my rehab budget. Right? Do you think that just overnight you get good at that? By accident, by osmosis? No. Go study how people are doing well with their budgets on rehabs. I'm sure there's people in this room who have figured out a thing or two with their rehabs that can maybe that they, can share that with you. So let me start to end here. If any of you want to be ambitious, this is what could actually be a business plan. Those 7 steps could literally become a business plan. And if you let it, that 7th one could be an action plan. I've started changing my goals where I set my intentions for the year, and every quarter I just build out the actions to those action steps to get me closer. And it has created way more momentum in my life than building out all these goals for the year. So what I'd love to see from you guys is action plans, not vision boards. I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just saying action will get you places that I don't want to say it. Manifesting it won't do, right? Don't get me wrong, manifest. Don't get me wrong. Meditate on it. All those things, but also do the work. So if you want to go back through these, you can go rewatch the replay. Cole thankfully helped because I know I moved. And build out your business plan. It's okay if it changes over time. come back to the drawing board and reset. Because some of you, by getting focused and actually pinning to paper what you're trying to do, you might be able to cure some of your own frustrations. I know I did. I'm not perfect, but then when I started learning that I'm not chasing stuff here, here, and here, it helped me learn to say no, and that allowed me to say yes to the things that mattered. So you need to identify what is stopping you, but a lot of times you have to realize that we stand in our own way. So self-awareness comes by realizing maybe we are chasing this or that, or maybe we aren't focused, or maybe we don't necessarily have a plan. And if you do this, I truly believe that you will crush 2022 by doing it by design and not by accident. That is one of the biggest things Mr. Leon Johnson, one of my mentors, taught me. He's to do life by design, not by default. You're not just going to stumble into building wealth with real estate. You're certainly not going to stumble into, whatever specifically you need just by, attending these and just hoping it happens. You've got to do it by design. And look, what makes sense for Matt, Anisha, Sharon, Nick and his dad, they may have two separate plans. So understand, you've got to get specific on what that looks like for you. Does anyone have any questions as we finish up here? I know I kind of went long, didn't really take questions. Anyone? Don't hesitate if you do. No?
I do. What would you recommend for the best way to increase the skill set on creative finance?
So you've got to learn about them. So I think everything is 90% mental, 10% technical. So go learn the technical. But then
I've started on that, but is there a certain resource book?
Yeah, so let me say this. Bigger Pockets has the book on the
creative finance.
it's like Brandon Turner's note. That one's a very simple overview, but start there. And then from there, what I would recommend is getting around people and teachers who specifically teach creative deals. So I can tell you that not everyone who teaches them would I recommend. There are a handful. I would say Vina Jones-Cox is one of them. I don't agree with everything, but some of what Pace Morby says, I like that. Leon Johnson, who's local, fantastic. Previously, Mr. Robert Reed, who used to teach up here. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. He has some videos, though, on the REIA YouTube. Same as Mr. Leon Johnson. Start there, and kind of go from that. Does that help?
Yeah.
Amy, thank you for asking that question. I'm going to give you a book. You want to pick one of these? Yeah, both of them? Okay, I'll give you another book. These are the two that were on the top. All right, anyone else have a question? Yes.
The bond for deed.
There's a training on that, by the way, on the video, the YouTube.
Okay, so but it basically owner financing stuff. How do you get started when you've never done a deal before? That's a lot of money and stuff.
Sure. So start with education, because whether you have money or not, if you don't know what a good deal is, you probably shouldn't go out and buy a deal if you don't know what a good deal is, right?
Right.
So I kid you not, if someone said, hey, I just inherited $100 grand, what should I go do? That would actually be scary for me, because I'd be afraid that they would go buy. The guy might have had the $212,000, but did he know what a good deal was?
No.
Right? So understand, it doesn't actually have to be paid, but go get educated on, like what you're doing here tonight is a great start. Go listen. Rick Regan is an attorney whose family has literally history in getting the legal, building into the law, bond for deeds. He came and did the training. He's the one who trains a lot of the realtors.
I know I've got a lot of learning to do on a lot of subjects.
But my thought here is that bond for deed, start there. That is a very easy one to start on. Okay? So go watch that video and then say either come back with some questions on it, or maybe go get on YouTube and look at like more bond for deeds stuff, right? Or get in the Facebook group and say, hey, here's some of my questions about bond for deeds.
There's a few attorneys in town that do strictly bond for deeds.
Fricke is one of them.
Yeah.
Have you read this one before?
Already have.
Okay, excellent. All right, any other questions? But the part here is you can just be getting started, and you don't have to buy your first deal with cash. It's the education part that's key. Anyone else? It's okay if you don't.
How do you know if you have enough education?
Well, here's the thing: is you learn.
Take action.
Did anyone learn something tonight that they're going to go take action on? This wasn't what an hour of training, right? It's just implementation at the speed of instruction, right? Have you read this one?
I think my dad has, but I don't have a copy.
There you go. Sorry, my bad. All right, you guys. Here's the thing: is education. Yes, we all talk about education, but here's the thing: is you can build wealth through real estate, but people have also lost money. And although I don't want there to be all education and no action, I also don't want there to be all action and no education. Find that middle ground. Be a person who takes action. Did you have a? Were you? Okay. Never
I've
mind.
got a question
Yeah.
before we dismiss. Where's the best place to watch the past meetings
Yeah.
that you keep mentioning?
Just search Northshore REIA on YouTube.
So Northshore REIA on the YouTube, or if you go to Courtney10k.com, it's the top right link.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how many videos on there, but there's a significant amount.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, are there any contractors in the room right now that I can network with?
Any contractors in the room?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, you guys. Next meeting is the exchange meeting this Friday. You can find that information for that Zoom on our website. Check out the stuff out there. Grab a snack. Thank you guys so much for coming. Next month we're going to be talking about the changes to insurance. It's really important. Have a great one. Thanks for coming out, you guys.
Can you finish it?